a Jesus revolution. An unprecedented number of Muslims are forsaking Islam and choosing to follow Christ, especially in Iran. CBN's Gary Lane has the story.
For centuries, it was unthinkable to hear of faith in Jesus Christ thriving in Iran. Yet right now, in one of the most dangerous places to believe, an underground movement is exploding. Different stories are rising of dreams, visions about Christ, and families discovering a freedom they never imagined. And the numbers? Over 1 million Muslims in Iran are turning to Jesus.
Reports say tens of thousands of mosques in Iran have closed, with millions of people leaving Islam to follow Jesus. What on earth?
A story so bold, it does sound impossible until you hear it. Could this be the greatest spiritual shift of our time? Join us as we uncover the powerful testimonies and hidden revival sweeping through Iran. The secret Jesus revolution in Iran. When you think about Iran, what comes to mind is the fact that it is the heartland of Shiite Islam, mosques, religious tradition, and strict rules enforced by the government. Christianity? That's probably the last thing you'd ever imagine. And yet, beneath the surface of Iran's rigid theocracy, something unexpected, something even shocking, is unfolding. Silently, away from the eyes of the morality police, a movement is rising. Not a political one, not a protest in the streets, but a spiritual revolution, one that's seeing Muslims in Iran turning to Christianity in numbers that no one thought possible. Some are even calling it a Jesus revolution. But wait, this is Iran we're talking about. A nation where religious expression is tightly controlled, where conversion from Islam is forbidden, and where punishment for dissent can be as harsh as imprisonment or worse. Yet, in this unlikely place, reports suggest that around 1 million Muslims have embraced Christianity.
According to Todd Nettleton of the Voice of the Martyrs, the faith option many are choosing is Jesus, with at least 1 million Muslims reportedly leaving Islam for Christianity.
That's quite shocking, isn't it? Keep watching to find out why this is happening. The very fact that over 1 million Iranians are converting to Christianity is quite shocking, but also gives us hope. 1 million is not just a handful of secret believers, rather, that's an entire underground wave shaking the very foundations of Iran's theocratic system. So, what's driving this? Why are people risking everything to follow a faith that could cost them their lives? First, let's look at the state of Islam inside Iran. Believe it or not, even though Iran is known for its deep Islamic roots, the country is facing a crisis of faith. Reports say that nearly 50,000 of the nation's 75,000 mosques have closed because fewer and fewer people are showing up. Senior clerics themselves have admitted that people just aren't coming anymore. That's a staggering decline, and it signals something bigger: disillusionment. Disillusionment with what? With a system that has promised much but delivered very little. Iran today struggles with poverty, unemployment, and corruption. More than half the population lives in poverty. Addiction rates are among the highest in the world. On top of all these, international sanctions and government mismanagement have left the economy in shambles. People are frustrated, tired, and hungry for more than just food. They're hungry for meaning, for freedom, for hope. And that's where Christianity steps in. For many Iranians, the message of Jesus feels like the exact opposite of what they've known under an oppressive regime. Instead of rules enforced by fear, they hear about grace. Instead of harsh punishments, they hear about forgiveness. Instead of feeling powerless, they find a faith that promises freedom not only spiritually, but in how they see themselves and their future. This is why Christianity is catching fire. It's not just a religion to them, it's a lifeline, a way to break free from decades of control. A glimpse of a God who knows them personally, calls them by name, and offers love without conditions. But of course, the government is not sitting idly by. The Islamic Republic sees this as a direct threat to its authority. Conversion is illegal, and apostasy is punishable by imprisonment or even death. The morality police, infamous for their harsh enforcement of Islamic laws, are tasked with stamping out Christianity wherever it's found. You may remember the global outrage after a woman was allegedly shot for not wearing her hijab properly.
Many women choose to take their hijabs off as a sign of protest, but a new, stricter law enforcing veiling is set to come into force.
That same rigid system is now fighting to silence this growing Christian movement. And yet, the movement continues to spread. Underground churches meet in secret. Believers gather in small homes, whispering prayers behind closed doors. Others go online, connecting through digital platforms to worship, learn, and share their faith. Despite the risks, despite the danger, they keep going. And with every testimony of visions, dreams, and families transformed, the number of new believers keeps growing. Here's what makes it even more intriguing. Surveys show that nearly 80% of Iranians want a democratic government, not the Islamic Republic they live under today. Religion, it seems, has become not just a matter of faith, but also a quiet form of resistance. To choose Christianity in Iran is not only to embrace a new spiritual path, it's to make a statement against oppression, against control, and against fear. But why are Muslims turning over to Christianity? Let's find out. Why over 1 million Iranians are turning to Jesus? Todd Nettleton puts it simply. This wave of change in Iran isn't just about people being tired of Islam. It's about the unique pull of Christianity. Converts in Iran aren't running away from something, they're running towards something. And what they say they've found is compassion, forgiveness, and a God who feels close enough to know them by name. Think about that for a second. In a world where leaders have failed, where corruption runs deep, and where oppression is woven into daily life, hearing about a God who calls you beloved changes everything. For many Iranians, the idea of a personal relationship with God doesn't just sound appealing. It sounds like the very thing their hearts have been starving for. Take the words of Jesus in Matthew 11:28-30. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. These aren't just gentle lines from an old book. For people who feel crushed under the weight of systemic injustice, for those suffocating under rules that leave no room for joy, these words are like water in a desert. They're not comfort alone. They're a bold promise, a promise of peace, a promise of rest. And for Iranians worn down by poverty, fear, and broken promises, these words are life itself. That's why Christianity is becoming more than just a religion inside Iran. For many, it's a symbol of freedom. It's a way to stand against the suffocating system that ties faith and politics so tightly together. Turning to Jesus in Iran isn't just about belief, it's about rebellion. It's a personal declaration. I will no longer live under the weight of a system that has failed me. And make no mistake, the system has failed. The promise of dignity and justice through Islam, the very foundation of the Republic, has long since cracked. And into that vacuum steps a message that feels radically different. Love instead of control, forgiveness instead of punishment, hope instead of despair. You can see why Christianity looks less like an imported religion and more like an antidote. But here's where it gets dangerous. The Iranian government knows this movement is spreading, and it terrifies them. To the regime, Christianity is more than a spiritual choice. It's a threat. It's a challenge not only to their religious authority, but to their entire political foundation. And so, the crackdown is ruthless. Underground churches are raided with the precision of a military strike. Converts are dragged from their homes, accused of vague crimes like acting against national security. Leaders of these house groups are singled out, detained without warning, and subjected to brutal treatment designed to crush their will. Solitary confinement, interrogations, psychological torture. The goal is simple: break them until they renounce their new faith and return to Islam. Even when they're released, the nightmare doesn't end. Former detainees live under heavy surveillance, their every movement watched. Calls are monitored, friends are questioned. Freedom, even after prison, is just an illusion. And yet the movement keeps growing. Let's imagine this together. In a small apartment, nothing out of the ordinary. The curtains drawn, 10, maybe 15 people gathered quietly in a circle. The final guest arrives, and the door is locked behind them. There's a moment of relief, of shared understanding. We are safe, for now. They sing softly, they whisper prayers, they read scripture together. For those brief hours, that tiny room becomes a sanctuary, a place where fear loosens its grip, where freedom can be tasted, even if only for a little while. But the danger is always there. At any moment, the knock could come. The authorities could storm in, tear the gathering apart, and take the leaders away. Many know this risk firsthand, but still, they gather. Because for them, not gathering, not worshiping, not sharing, would mean letting fear win. It's a fragile peace, but it's also a defiant one. Every whispered hymn, every hidden Bible, every prayer spoken in secret is an act of resistance. And the regime knows it. That's why they try so hard to shut it down. But here's the thing, the very crackdowns meant to crush the movement have only shown its strength. Every arrest, every raid, every news story of persecution whispers to the world that something powerful is happening here, that something is worth risking everything for. Across Iran, stories keep spreading of dreams and visions, of Jesus appearing in ways people can't explain.
Muslims are turning to Christ in large numbers across the Middle East, according to the Christian Post. The report says Muslims are turning to Jesus Christ and are viewing Christianity as, quote,
friends tell friends, families share with families, and even under constant threat, the numbers keep climbing. And the truth is simply this. It isn't only about religion. It's about longing for freedom, for dignity, for a life not defined by fear and rules. Christianity has become, for many Iranians, a way to breathe again. How big is the Christian wave in Iran? Stay tuned to find out more. The silent revolution becomes stronger. Although the regime in Iran is doing everything it can to silence a growing spiritual movement. But the twist is that the numbers are telling a very different story. Christianity is not shrinking, it's quietly spreading. And this is where the words of Jesus from Matthew 10:22 echo like prophecy. You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. For Christians in Iran, these words aren't theory, they're reality. They live under constant threat, violence, prison, even death. Yet somehow, they remain firm with courage and resilience that can't be explained by human strength alone. But here's something fascinating. While the government's response is brutal, many friends and family members of new converts don't always react the way you'd expect. Instead of hostility, some simply shrug and say, if you found something that works for you, that's good. I just know Islam doesn't work, so I'm glad you found something else. That surprising acceptance reveals just how deep the dissatisfaction with Islam has grown. For many ordinary Iranians, the system no longer holds answers, and they're willing to let loved ones search elsewhere, even if that elsewhere is Jesus. And this isn't just an Iranian story. Don Schenk of the Tide Ministry explains that Iran is only the tip of the iceberg. What's happening there is part of a much larger trend sweeping across the Muslim world. From Afghanistan to Yemen to Saudi Arabia, similar movements are quietly emerging movements so unexpected they almost sound unbelievable. One very important detail is the role of dreams and visions. Reports from ministries working in these regions reveal countless testimonies of Muslims encountering Jesus in dreams. For many, this is where their spiritual journey begins. In Islamic culture, dreams are often seen as divine messages, so when someone dreams of Jesus, radiant, compassionate, calling them by name, it leaves a mark they cannot ignore. Not everyone who dreams of Jesus immediately converts, but many say those dreams open the door. Suddenly, the God they thought only wanted to punish them looks different, compassionate, forgiving, personal. One man described it this way: "I now realize how much God loves me. All my life I thought he only wanted to punish me." These visions become a bridge across cultural and religious barriers, leading people to seek out Christians, learn more, and in many cases, eventually embrace faith in Jesus. This wave is seen to be spreading to other parts of the Middle East. In Afghanistan, secret Christians gather under the constant shadow of Taliban rule. The risk of exposure is terrifying. Betrayal could come from anyone, even someone posing as a fellow believer. To be caught could mean death. Yet, despite the risk, reports suggest the number of Christians in Afghanistan is growing. What drives them? A hunger for a personal relationship with God, one that feels redemptive and full of hope in a land marked by fear. Studies indicate that Christianity there is growing at nearly twice the global rate. Think about that. A nation wrecked by civil war and humanitarian crisis, and yet people are quietly turning to Jesus in record numbers. For many Yemenis, the harshness of daily life makes the message of love and grace stand out like a flame in the darkness. Even in Saudi Arabia, a country once infamous for its iron grip on Islam, there are signs of change. Todd Nettleton of The Voice of the Martyrs points out that while being a Christian there is still dangerous, the monarchy has begun showing hints of tolerance. Just a decade or two ago, the idea of peaceful coexistence with Christians was unthinkable. Today, the door has been cracked open, however slightly. Meanwhile, on social media, the conversation is exploding. A viral tweet from a conservative commentator claimed millions of Muslims are converting to Christianity. That post sparked waves of discussion online. Digging deeper, people resurfaced an interview from the year 2001 in which a Muslim scholar, Al-Qahtani, claimed 667 Muslims were converting to Christianity every hour. That would equal 16,000 conversions a day, or 6 million every year. Now, those numbers may not be verifiable, and many experts question their accuracy. Still, what's clear is this: anecdotal evidence, ministry reports, and the testimonies of new believers all point to real, significant growth. And the converts themselves? They don't see their faith as a private choice. Many describe it as being swept into a global movement of God's Spirit, something bigger than their own lives, something with the power to reshape nations. They believe they're part of a transformation that's crossing borders, breaking barriers, and reaching even into the places once considered untouchable strongholds of Islam. At the heart of this movement is a simple but radical message. God's love is unconditional. He is not a harsh master waiting to punish, but a compassionate father offering grace and forgiveness. For Muslims who have long lived under fear, this is revolutionary. It changes how they see God, themselves, and the world around them. And so, the shift isn't only spiritual, it's social and cultural too. Entire communities begin to see new possibilities for freedom and justice. The Middle East, so often painted as unchanging, is quietly transforming. From Iran's house churches to Afghan living rooms, from Yemeni villages to Saudi, a wave of tolerance is building. Despite raids, despite persecution, despite every attempt to stamp it out, the gospel keeps moving. Because the story isn't over. In fact, it may have only just begun. What are your thoughts on the Christian wave that is spreading across Iran? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Click on the next video displayed on your screen. You will enjoy it.